Very good evening to all the participants. ICI has never left any stone unturned to update our knowledge and the efforts of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board DAB and the host of tonight's session, SAPA Committee on Information Technology in this direction are indeed appreciable. Our today's topic of virtual webinar is embracing robotic process automation, opportunities and challenges for accountancy profession. Beginning with tonight's session, I, CA Ashna Kajda, moderator of the session, would like to introduce the chairman of DAB, a very jovial, eloquent, and motivating personality, CA CS Nandaji. Besides the chairmanship of DAB, he is also chairing the Committee on Financial Markets and Investor Protection and Committee on IT of SAFA and is a vice chairperson of the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting, ICI. He has held the position of chairperson of several committees of ICI from 2004. He has contributed as a guest speaker, faculty, and program coordinator in various national and international forums of ICI. Now, I would like to invite Nanda sir to address the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Ashna ji. My heartiest compliments to Dheeraj ji, Neha ji, Amit Gupta ji, the secretary, and all who are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, the council has embarked upon a very ambitious project of a strategy meeting at Taj Faluknama in Hyderabad. I'm there. So I will not take much of your time. I would only compliment the entire board for doing such a wonderful program, robotics, and their use in intelligence, in forensics, in business processes, in internal audit is really mark-worthy. So I would just tell all my participants, all chartered accountants, to go deep inside into it and understand the basic concept, how you can use robotics for adding value to your clients' initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is now growing high day by day. God has been kind that I have been appointed as the chairman of SAFA Committee on IT for 9 countries. The basic impetus here is to bring technology at a level where each and every person is able to effectively use it for servicing the conceptual problems which the normal practice units face. So not taking much of a time, I would withdraw. I have another meeting which is going on. I came down to address and to say thanks to all concerned. Thanks to Ashna, who's the moderator. Thanks to Dheeraj ji. Thanks to Neha ji. Both of the revered speakers. And thanks to my committee and the efforts they put. I'm so thankful to all of them because we all work like a team and then we are able to achieve such kind of results. A great thanks to all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ashna ji, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir, for your motivational words. Now, I would like to introduce C. Nihar N. Jambusaria ji, past president of ICI, a blend of erudition, experience, foresight, technical expertise, and professional excellence worth emulating, and a fellow chartered accountant from Mumbai, qualified as a chartered accountant in 1984 and was in practice for nearly 27 years. He has
Madam Nihar bhai will be joining anytime.
Okay. So we'll wait.
Then Nihar bhai will join. Please.
Now I would like to introduce C. Nihar N. Jambusaria ji, past president of ICI, a blend of erudition, experience, foresight, technical expertise, and professional excellence worth emulating, and a fellow chartered accountant from Mumbai, qualified as a chartered accountant in 1984 and was in practice for nearly 27 years. He has been a member of very important committees constituted by the Indian government and regulators relating to policy formation that include Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, GASAB, and Audit Advisory Board, both constituted by the CAG of India. He has been a prolific speaker at national and international forum. As an academician and orator par excellence, he has attended and contributed to numerous national and international seminars.
Madam, you can also introduce the speakers so that by that time Nihar bhai will come. Please introduce the speakers also.
Yes, sir. So Now, moving on to the session, before Sir joins, I would also like to introduce the eminent speakers of tonight's session. Ms. Neha Prasad, a young, beautiful, and a professional managing consultant having an experience of 10 years in digital automation, innovation, and consultation. She's an alumni of Delhi University and is certified as an ITIL expert in IT service management, system administrator, and enterprise IT cloud specialist. Being sincere in her career, she has stepped the ladder from the post of senior consultant to managing consultant in her current organization. We welcome you, ma'am, to deliver your insights into the topic through your hands on experience in IT digitization and automation. Now, I would like to introduce the second speaker of the evening, Mr. Dheeraj Saxena, who is the Global RPA Practice Head in his current organization. He has an experience of over 15 years within business transformation, consulting in banking and financial services. Meanwhile, can we start, sir, with the session, or shall we wait for sir to join first?
You can start better with the speakers. When Nihar Bhai will come, he will step in and give his. Nihar Bhai there is. Has Nihar Bhai joined? Please see.
Yes, sir has joined.
Yes, he has joined. Nihar Bhai has joined. Nihar sir, please.
Good evening, Nihar sir.
Good
Yes,
evening.
he has joined.
Yeah.
He'll be there any moment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have given your introduction and we welcome you on this session. So kindly deliver a few words to our audience.
Thank you. And just 1 minute. My camera is somehow not opening. I don't know why. It says or should I address without camera because it is taking time. It is not opening.
Yes.
So I can. Yeah.
Sir, please, you can.
Somehow something is wrong here. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. And chairman of this committee, C.S. Charanjot Singh Nandaji, today's two speakers, Dheeraj and Neha, the anchor, the moderator, Asna, and all the participants. It's a matter of great pleasure again that the Digital Accounting and Assurance Standard Board, along with SAFA, is organizing again this event for the benefit of members in India as well as members in SAFA countries. And more especially, today, I think along with sustainability, the very big opportunity for the profession is technology. And today's topic, use of robotic processes and the opportunities and challenges, is very important in the sense that the Chartered Accountants members have always felt whenever there is upgradation of technology, that there is a fear of being redundant. And there is a fear of technology taking over many of our functions. This has been happening since many years. But we have all witnessed that with the advancement of technology, the professionals are more facilitated and they are empowered. So today's speakers will enlighten the members as to how these robotic processes would help professionals in delivering better results for the clients and serve the community better, the business community, the society better than ever before. Challenges, of course, always remain because whenever you have to pull yourself out of what you were already doing for years together and do something new, it always creates, or it is always seen as a challenge. But in fact, if you look at the opportunities which the technology throws open for the people, then the challenges are far lesser than the opportunities that the new technology offers. So let us take it in that stride and today learn from the young speakers as to how these robotic processes are very important and they can add value to what professionals are doing in their profession. So with this, I once again thank Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board of ICAI and also Information Technology Committee of SAFA. And we have chairman of both the committees as CA Charan Jot Singh Nandaji. So along with your vice chairman, this event for the benefit of members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words and showing us the importance of technology. Now we move on to our speakers. So the session is over to you, Dheeraj sir and Neha ma'am.
Thank you. I hope I'm clearly audible to everybody, right? Everybody can see me and hear me as well, right?
Yes, sir, you are quite audible. And you're
okay. Okay, thank you. So first of all, thanks to ICAI for giving us this opportunity to kind of present and share our views around what could be the potential for automation within the finance and accounting practices. That's one. Second is more than finance and accounting. I think it's very important for us to understand what's really happening in the market in terms of the technology of robotic process automation, how it is redefining the entire sphere of the way we were doing things 5 years back and the way we are doing things today. Okay. So, and the way before I share my screen and the way I run these typical sessions is typically, we continue with, our presentation, and we keep the questions for the last. We'll try to answer as many as questions that I get from the participants. But it's in a healthy, way that you need to ask questions. Don't hesitate, even if it's a small question or a big question, because no question is a stupid question. All questions are intelligent questions, and happy to be a part of this journey. So before I start, a few things. I would just want to set the agenda correct. The things that I would be covering would be a bit of 70% would be on the technology side. When I say technology side, it means what RP is all about, and remaining of that would be on the process side of it. All right, because a lot of use cases on robotic process automation come more on when we understand the processes. Okay, so just let me know when you can see my screen. I'm just trying to share my screen now. Okay, I would need help to start sharing my screen. How do I do that? Okay, yeah.
In the bottom, if you could see the tabs.
Okay. Can you all see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
So we can see your screen, but it is blank.
Is it coming up now? Okay. Okay. Can you all see my screen now? Can you all see the presentation? Okay, just give me a minute. I think that should be coming up. Still not?
No, sir.
Presentation is not coming. Maybe, you know what, let me try and switch off my camera if that helps. And okay, so I put that on a presentation mode first, right? Okay. So then I go on share screen. I'm going to do that again. Okay, it says somebody else is sharing the screen. So okay, just give me a minute. Can you now see my screen? Can you all now see my screen?
Yes, sir. Definitely. We can see
Okay.
this.
Oh, yeah. Should be happening full screen anytime now. Sorry for the trouble. I know we're talking about robotics, but we got stuck with a simple manual stuff, right? So sorry about that. Okay, so I'll be very soon starting with talking about the evolution of RPA. All right. It talks about firstly understanding what RPA is all about. So we've all heard about robotic process automation and artificial intelligence and machine learning and all of those things, right? So let's first understand what is robotic process automation. So robotic process automation, it's a software that captures and interprets existing applications to automate rules based processing, data manipulation, and communication across multiple systems, including your web-based and local applications. Okay. Are you able to see the slide? Because I'm seeing a different slide. I'm on the second slide. Why is that not happening? Because I'm on the full screen. It should. Anyways, can I ask for a favor while I start with the session instead of wasting so much time? Can I email you the? I think I've already emailed it to you. So can you open it from your desktop? Shubham and anybody else? Yeah, you got a copy, right? So maybe you can start with that. You can start sharing your screen rather than because I see there's some restrictions on my system, and maybe that's the reason why it's not coming up. So Shubham, whenever you are ready, let me know because I can then start accordingly. or Shubham or Ayaz, whosoever is. You already have it. You already have it. I'm going to send that to you again if you don't have it, but I've already sent it to you. Shubham, Ayaz, have you got a copy? Can you start sharing your screen? Hi, team. Can you hear me? Are you able to get the file and no? There's a different. No, there's a different one. You would have recently got a different one. The one that I was trying to start. Please check. You would have got it from my ID. If not, I'll try to log in again.
Yeah, as I have just forwarded you that new PPT.
I'm just trying it for the last time. Let me know if you can see my screen again. Can you see my screen again?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, but I'm on the full screen, but it's not showing. Okay, now I think it's coming up. Can you see now?
No.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm sorry for the glitch, audience. So maybe we can, revisit on the definition for RPA once again. So what is RPA? Robotic Process Automation is a software that captures and interprets existing applications to automate rule-based processing. Rule-based processing is again your accounting practices, your accounting rules, your logic, your the way you process your statements, the way you process your balance sheets and stuff like that. Okay, so all of that classify as a part of the rule-based processing. Now, the next part is on the data manipulation. So when I say data manipulation, it means that not adjusting the balance sheets incorrectly or unethically. But data manipulation means that it has a capability to extract data, it has a capability to input data, and it also has a capability to validate data before inputting the data. All right. And this can be done across multiple systems, your customer systems, your customers' vendor systems, your customers' partner systems, your customers' customer systems. So all of that can be done using simple robotic process automation implementation. Followed by that, again, what are the trends in RPA? So just to let you know, this is a very growing market. Now, the trends that you see on the presentation is primarily of 2019, which is very old. But now these trends have changed drastically. So globally, this market is growing. Now you would have seen that a lot of the companies today are kind of I should not be mentioning this, but they are in the process of either firing an employee or they're trying to re-optimize or optimize their workforce. Right. I'm not saying all of this is happening because of RPA in existence. All of this is happening because there is some or the other level of automation that has already been triggered, and some bit of process efficiency that already has been triggered across organizations, which is forcing these organizations to rethink on their operational spend. And that's the reason why you would see a lot of these organizations have employees being handed over the pink slips. Okay, so again, coming back to the point, RPA is a growing. It's an absolutely growing technology. In fact, RPA has graduated not just being an automation platform or a software. It has graduated to being the most efficient enabling layer for implementing any kind of artificial intelligence. If you want to implement any kind of a data analytics or predictive capabilities, RPA is your answer. Robotic process automation is your answer. Gone are the days. Gone are the days when people used to work on certain accounting softwares accounting applications manually, and they used to do the reconciliation and the entries on the manual basis. But now you have new accounting automations that have been brought in the market, which are disrupting this entire space. And not just accounting, it is also on the banking side as well. It is also on other areas as well. Okay. Any questions from anyone?
Sir, we will take question answer session at the end. Is it okay with you?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay. Now, moving on to understanding on the right-hand side, if you see the diagram that we have got, it's a kind of a ladder. Okay. Now, what is this ladder? This ladder actually talks about the evolution of this whole robotic process automation. So it is not something which is new that exists in the market, which means that it is not something that started in the market today. It existed a long time ago. We started with the basic automation, which was again a script-based automation, which was kind of a VBA scripting or a macro automation that we used to do for our customers. All right. That was based on Excel, small cut, copy, paste, repeated cut, copy, paste application that we used to do on Excel. That was a level 1 basic automation, followed by the level 2, which was again an API based automation. We all know what API is. Allowable programmable interface, programmable that allows you to build these bridges between applications to allow the interaction of the data to happen from one application to another. All right. We know we used to do some bit of screen scrapping as well. Something like extracting data from that's called as a screen scrapping all of this existed in the market, and that was like, I would say back, this was the condition. The majority of the was still trying to learn automation. Now, coming to the level 3, that is where it started getting matured. That is where the entire automation started to set in its foot into various practices, whether you talk about insurance regulatory practices, whether you talk about accounting practices, whether you talk about your financial practices, you talk about your banking practices. That's when we started seeing unattended advanced level of automation, which means you do not need to supervise your automation. You do not need to give triggers to your bots to perform automation. It can do on its own. It can perform automation on its own. And how to achieve this stage? We achieve this stage by integrating and carefully selecting the processes to automate. Now, please understand one thing. Robotic process automation, and this is what I keep telling to all the forums and all the people that I interact with. Robotic process automation is not about technology. You would be doing a biggest mistake of your life if you think that robotic process automation is only for technology people. I don't have to do anything with that. No. Robotic process automation is a practice where you have the process at the center, which means everything revolves around the process. If you get the process wrong, if you get your accounting process wrong, if you get your financial process wrong, robotics will not come to correct your process. It will keep on working on the wrong process that you have given, give you the desired results that you would expect. All right. So it is very, very important for you to carefully select your process, understand your process, and that is where you start applying your robotics. Now, robotics is a technology. Yes, it's a software, but it is applied on a correct, estimated, forecasted, and a stable process. Okay. So level 3, unattended advanced automation, was all about selecting the right process, ensuring that the process is stable enough for us to start implementing unattended automation, which means no supervision required, no human intervention required. It can function on its own. And we'll see, in the coming slides, we'll see how does it go about doing that. Okay. Moving on to the next level of automation on the same ladder, which is the fourth level, I would say this is where the industry is currently maturing. Now, we all have heard about this whole thing of artificial intelligence, machine learning, blah, 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 and all of that. Okay. It does exist, but we are still maturing. As a country, we are still maturing. As India, as a country, we are still maturing on this. Yes, we do have advanced models, but only on selected use cases. So, for example, if you have a PDF image or if you have a scanned image to read by your document processing robot, that is where I would say, yes, a bit of artificial intelligence can work upon. But if you expect the human intelligence, I mean, this is again, I'm saying, all the chartered accountants, if they are assuming that, okay, RPA will come and replace them, and no, that's not going to happen. Your skills, your knowledge of accounting practices would still stay the way it is, because the business scenarios are getting complex, the financial scenarios are getting more complex, and it is virtually impossible for robotic process automation to have the artificial intelligence overtake the skills of a chartered accountant. That's not going to happen. All right. So don't think it that way. However, what will happen is the low-level tasks like reading a document, extracting information from a balance sheet, extracting information or contractual information that needs to be fed into the balance sheet, or the statements that you're making, all of those information that needs to be fed into the system, that part can be done using artificial intelligence and machine learning. All right. Now, a simple question before I move on to the next slide is, how do you differentiate between artificial intelligence and machine learning? Well, I mean, I can just say that, yes, a computer or a software that has machine learning capabilities is as same as artificial intelligence, right? No. Artificial intelligence is replicating human intelligence and the ability of a system to think and improvise on its own is called as machine learning. So artificial intelligence is the intelligence that a software has to process certain transactions based on experience, and that's it. But when the software or the machine tries to improve itself and learn from the previous mistakes or the previous historic data, that is called as machine learning. So yes, there are certain algorithms. There are certain algorithms that are there in order to which will be fed into the software or the modules where it enables the machine to learn on its own. And these are, some of them are really complex algorithms. That's how the machine improvises. Okay, so that's. If you would ask me where we are as a country or as a practice of accounting or financial services, I would say we are somewhere between 3 and 4. All right, we are yet not completely on 4, the stage of 4, which is artificial intelligence, and we are definitely not at number 2 or number 1. Okay, so with this, I move on to the next slide, which talks about again the evolution. Some of the benefits of RPA and the evolution of RPA, the thing that used to happen earlier. So, like I said, robotic process automation deals with automating tasks which are repeated, and they use set rules in a completely unattended environment. So now, friends, we're talking about the level 3. We are assuming we're already in level 3. Okay, unattended environment using an intelligent orchestration across multiple applications and environment. RPA is an enabling layer to all digital next pillars. Whether you talk about Internet of Things, whether you talk about analytics, you talk about blockchain, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that. So let us spend some time in understanding what makes a level 3 automation or an RPA unattended. Okay, I said it that it's unattended, right? But how does it become unattended in nature? It becomes unattended in nature because there is something called as an orchestration, right? Which means there is a central command center for the robots, for the software bots. And this command center triggers the bots to either start or stop or access the application based on the rules and logic. Now, for example, if you have your balance sheets coming in at 9 o'clock in the morning, you need your bot to start extracting information from those balance sheets. So what do? You tell some colleague of yours to say, "Oh, boss, please go on your laptop. Please press the some keys, and the bot will start." No, that's not going to happen. All right. So the unattended way means automatically the orchestrator or the control tower or the control, I would say, like in airports, you have the air traffic control system. Similarly, over here also you have orchestrators or the control towers. So control tower will give a trigger to the bot. It's 9 o'clock as per the India time zone. Please start with accounting. Please start with data extraction, and the bot will automatically start. Okay. It's a more of a architectural question that where is the orchestrator placed? Does the orchestrator can manage multiple bots and all of that, which I'll explain in the later stages of the presentation. Okay. Now let's understand the benefits of RPA, guys. Again, please, friends, I again want to reiterate. If you see the diagram in the center, you have robotics on the left hand side, you have process in the center, and then you have automation on the right hand side. So again, I would say reiterate the part that process comes first in RPA. You get that wrong, there is no AI, there is no ML, there is no software, there is no company who can save your process from failing or your robotics from failing. So please pay attention on the process side of it. Know your process first. The RPA is simply technology which will sit on your process. That's it. Okay. So let's start understanding the benefits of RPA. Number one, flexible. It's very flexible, quick to implement solutions, intelligent and self-orchestrated integration. What does it mean? Flexible. Okay. So you have implemented RPA in your department. Let's say your department is payroll. And from payroll perspective, it is reading certain documents, it is reading certain images or certain data. The same set of automation, the same logic is required in procurement. That is called as being flexible, which means now you can scale up your bot, or you can increase the scope of your bot from payroll to procurement, inventory management, to your billing, invoicing, and stuff like that. Okay. So with using the same logic, if the bot has an additional capacity, you can simply make it flexible in nature. That's number one. Quick to implement solutions. Now, traditionally or conventionally, and again, I'm not against any API building practices or something like that. Okay, I'm not trying to pull down APIs versus RPA. I'm not trying to instigate a Russia-Ukraine war over here. What I'm trying to say is, earlier when we used to build APIs to build those integration layers and perform data integration, the projects used to run somewhere on an average basis, somewhere between 6 to 9 months. All right, where everything used to be programmed, every data extraction point used to be programmed from the source application to the destination applications and stuff like that. That has changed now. Why that has changed? Because with RPA coming in the market, it is offering low code solutions, simply drag and drop solutions. So you don't have to be a B Tech or an M Tech or a technology graduate or a postgraduate to learn RPA. There are courses available in the market. All you have to do is you need to know the basics of application building. Some of the applications are built on Java. Some of the applications are built on C++. Some of the applications use Python as a code. So, you don't have to be getting into these languages to learn RPA. All right. So the implementation cycle is pretty quick. All right. You can learn on your own. You can implement on your own. Intelligent and self-orchestrated integration, which means, like I explained earlier, so any RPA bot or a robot will come with an orchestrator or a control tower, which will tell the bot where to trigger, what to trigger, at what time to trigger, and what actions to be performed. Unattended processing, pretty much explanatory. that it does not require any human intervention. Delivering digital value to customers and end users. I don't have to say this. I mean, this is pretty much a self-explanatory. And guys, please remember one thing. It is all getting, today in this environment, it is all getting about two things. The speed of your delivery and the value of your delivery. When I say value of your delivery, it comes your profitability and your customer experience and the speed of your delivery. So you might be very good in delivering your operational solutions to a customer, but it's not good enough if you take 12 months to deliver the solution, right? I mean, it's as good as you have a Ferrari who's actually running like a bullock cart. Okay, so the speed of solution. We order food from our food ordering apps. We expect the food to reach us not after 3 or 4 hours, but as quickly as possible, right? So the speed of delivery, and that's where RPA comes in, because this offers you a very quick turnaround time on your delivery. All right, which means the development time is reduced as against APIs and other automation techniques. And secondly, your customer experience. And when I say customer experience, not just your customer experience, also your employee experience as well. Imagine the employee motivation when they know that they don't have to do the low-lying repeated tasks time and again. When they know that, boss, yes, there is an RPA bot who will take care of the simple data entry while I focus on more complex journal entries and ledger entries that I need to make. I can focus on more accounting guidelines that I need to follow. So by that ways, we'll be able to deliver value to our customers and end users. And like I said again, please remember one thing: every organization is governed by only two factors: the speed of delivery and the value of delivery. Okay. Delivering cost efficiencies, I don't have to go in detail. Sometimes you will be required, whenever you embark on the robotic process automation journey, your head or your supervisors or your managing directors or your chief operating officers or your chief financial officers, they might ask you a question: what's the ROI that you're delivering, boss? Or you're just doing because you want to do RPA and become like a hero in the organization? No. So you have to ensure that there is a constant comparison between the manual versus the cost of automation. And majority of the organizations, if you ask me, fail to define this at the very start of their projects. They said, we want to automate, we want to reduce 5 people. Great. You want to reduce 5 people, but please understand, if you're implementing 20 bots to replace 5 people, it's not going to work out. So do that ROI. There are ROI templates available. All right, you can get in touch with me. There are ROI templates available, which will help you compare the cost between the manual cost and the cost of robotic process automation. So robotic process automation will be covering costs like the license cost of the bot, the infrastructure readiness cost of the bot, the development cost, the consulting cost. Why consulting? Because it's again process, because there are a lot of process documents that you need to make. And that's the reason consulting costs will be there. And license cost, infrastructure cost, consulting cost, development cost, and maintenance cost as well, because you got to be maintaining those bots as well. All of this costs put together, compare it against the resource cost month on month. Why? Because maybe your infrastructure cost or your cost of automation might not change over a month, but your resource cost will. There are things like COLA, EBITDA, and all of those things come into picture, right? The cost of living adjustments and stuff like that, which comes into whenever you're trying to estimate an ROI. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're trying to do an ROI. There has to be enough profitability before you undertake. So that's the point around delivering cost efficiencies. The fifth point is again on predictive and descriptive analytics. Now you must be thinking, boss, we are accounting professionals. Why analytics has to be there? We do real-time analytics. Why? What prediction we can use? So when I talk about descriptive or predictive analytics, right, I'm talking about the power of data. Huge amount of data. Yes, there are softwares available which can help you predict the outcome of certain events that are happening or that are going to happen in the future using certain data modulations. But have you ever imagined how does one extract these data points from various applications? Your application, so let's say you're trying to build an predictive model for your overheads in the next year. Okay, you're trying to build a statement for your overheads in the coming financial year, or your operational cost, or your sales and marketing budgets, right? You know what your X's are. Your X's could be, any number of X's. Do you have historic data? Yes, you have historic data. Can you extract the real-time data coming in from your historic, your applications? Yes, you can do that by using RPA. So RPA will extract all the data points from your applications, input them into a model, which is nothing but a statistical model, which will help you to predict the outcome in form of what is going to be the outlay or the sales budgeting or the sales forecast or overhead expenditure and stuff like that using those data points. So the data extraction, the data cleansing part of it, the data modulation part of it is done by RPA. The data modeling, the prediction, that is done by analytical engines or simple statistic. Okay. I'm not going to go much deeper into the right-hand side image. I've already explained this, which is again a trigger-based automation, macro, so we've all discussed that. So now we understand the difference between what is an unattended automation versus an attended automation, so to speak of. With this, I request to move on to the next slide. Okay. So the next slide actually talks about how do you go about, okay, now yes, we can do automation. Very great. But how do I go about selecting the process? How do I ensure that, yes, have I selected the right process? Have I ensured that the process that I've selected, please remember again, going back to the point again I said, if you select a wrong process, if you're not defining your process correctly, your automation will fail. And nobody can save you if you get your process wrong. So it is very important to carefully select your automation. So what are those points where you actually go about selecting your processes? Number one, highly manual and repetitive transactions or processes. In any process where you have highly manual processes or repetitive in nature, all right, that is your clear indicator, boss. This is the process that you need to pick up for automation. I don't have to say, I'm sure everybody who's listening to the webinar today, they can clearly imagine the processes that I'm talking about. Okay. Number two, rule-based or logic-based, knowledge-based tasks. Why? Because the same level of programming will be done on the bots. The same level of logic will be assigned to the bot. Do not try to be a Superman by implementing something which is not yet defined, which does not have a rule. You have a new accounting guideline. You don't know how to incorporate that guideline into your financial statements. Do not pick that process, please. Do not pick that process for automation. You will bound to fail. The GST guidelines have been given. The government is not clear about certain components of GST. Do not pick that process for automation. You will fail. So pick up something where you know the rules have been working for like 5 years or 10 years, and even next 10 years also the rules will not change. Pick up those processes, or the logic will not change. Pick up those processes. Okay. Now, what if you have already picked up a process for automation and okay, boss, 10 years down the line, my taxation is going to go for a toss. That is where RPA offers you a flexibility to do minor changes in your logic. That can be done. But the basic principles, the basic way of calculating, the basic logic, that should not change. If that is changing every year, do not select that process for automation. And who will tell you all of this? Me or any other person? No, it is you, because you are the process expert. You will know it. What will change? What will not change? What is stable? What is rule based? See, it is again all coming back to process. Third, low exception rate. Like I said, there should be least of exceptions. Straight through processing means you start from point A in a transaction and you move to point B in a transaction. It's a straight through processing. There shouldn't be any exception that you could see while selecting a process. If you're seeing a lot of exceptions, again, you will be building logics time and again in the bot to handle those exceptions. And that is where, again, your robotic process automation will not be successful, because half of the time your bot will spend on dealing with the exceptions. And I'm sorry, I'm making the statement here. Please apologize. And we Indians like to talk about exceptions a lot. And sometimes we build the process around exceptions. Don't do that. Talk about the normal process. Talk about the usual process that you're supposed to follow. And if you have a straight through process without any exception, please go ahead and select that process for automation. That's simple as that. Okay. Fourth one, processes with standard readable electronic input type, OCR. Come on, boss. OCR has been existing in the in our lives since I don't know how many. I think it's more than 15 years. We all have been filling those forms in block letters, the banking forms, the insurance forms, the account application forms, and all of that. We all have been filling up these forms with block letters and the letters in the square or stuff like that. And I'm sure everybody's wondering, why are we doing that? Because there's always an OCR engine which is going to read your characters based on whatever you put in a box. That was OCR, optical character reader. But today, even the OCR has graduated to a different level, where there are engines and capabilities available to read the handwritten invoices or the handwriting as well. So there are those capabilities that exist in the market today, where you can actually implement a software, and software can read n number of documents in n number of languages. Sorry, when I say n number of languages, the world's most acceptable languages. All right. So always keep in mind, select those processes which has standard readable electronic input types, or the PDFs which you can read easily. Now coming to the operational side of it, the fifth selection criteria of selecting any RPA process is more on higher volumes and higher OPEX. What do you mean by higher volumes? Higher volumes means there should be an ROI before you select. If you select a process where you get 3 transactions in a week and you've deployed one bot to do that, I can tell you for sure you will never ever achieve your ROI. So select a process where you have good amount of volumes coming in, because tomorrow when you will be justifying that, yes, your cost of automation versus the cost of your manual labor is coming out to be positive. All right. So higher volumes and higher operational expense should be selected as a minimum entry criteria for selecting any process. Next one is on multi-application, multiple platform scenario. Okay, this is a good one and my favorite one. Okay. Why I'm saying multiple application scenario? Because sometimes we do not, or APIs do not allow us to build that integration layers into multiple systems, primarily because of some firewall restrictions, some data privacy restrictions, or sometimes the nature of the application itself is so complex or so legacy in nature, where the data extraction is usually not possible. Okay. But yes, RPA bot does offer you with that capability where the bot can interact with multiple systems. Now, for example, your customer comes to you and says, you know what, can you implement an robotic process automation for extracting this information from my customer also, or my vendor also? So It's a multi application scenario. You have done your automation between your company and your customer, but now your customer is asking you that whether or not you can do it for other customers also. So all of that can be readily achieved using RPA. All right. Next, automation savings and resources. Yes, obviously, that's the first rule of ROI, right? So when I say resources, please do not misunderstand or misquote me that there always has to be a job loss. No, what I'm saying is your HR processes or your financial processes can become more and more complex. You can assign more customer facing processes to humans. A senior accountant or a matured accountant, give him more complex accounting scenarios or accounting guidelines to work on rather than doing a simple data entry job. And that's where this is a global trend that is shifting, and I'm sorry for making the statement, but our prime minister has actually understood that very well. He's trying to automate all the minor tasks, repeated tasks, thereby giving more complex ones to the people, and thereby telling them, okay, this is where you need to use your skills. And that's exactly what we need to do in our process scenarios as well. Remove all the low lying tasks. Happen is they burn an individual out. You get bored doing the task every now and then. All right. So understand whatever task that you're selecting has to have some resources as a saving. You also need to understand that yes, the projects that you're selecting does not just mean that resources will go away. The resources can be trained to handle more complex, more customer facing, more sales or pre-sales kind of roles rather than getting them burned out in more of repeated tasks. Okay. So yes, automation, savings, and resources. The last one, but very, very, very important one. Do not select processes or do not select any process which are not stable in nature. Because the moment you select a process which is undergoing changes, what will happen? Firstly, your logic is not defined. Your logic is not defined. You can never, ever, ever define the bots the way you want them to perform, right? So, firstly, your automation will go for a toss. Frequent changes will increase your development cost and your maintenance cost of the ROI. All right. If the process is having frequent changes, you have not documented the process initially. You've deployed a wrong consultant on the project who does not understand the process. That person will ensure that your process goes for a toss. Your RPA goes for a toss. So select the person who is able to understand whether a process or a given flow or a workflow or a business flow is mature or not. If it is not mature and stable, do not select it. Okay. So always select mature and stable processes for your automation. All right. With this, we move on to the next slide, which talks about correlating customer challenges and typical benefits of RPA. So, and these are not holistic challenges. There are some more challenges as well that are there, but for now we focus on these. Customer challenges. Typically, customer will have challenges like labor-intensive activities, human intervention for going through tickets or incidences to categorize. And this is on the IT side of it, right? Where you have a service desk and you have people trying to resolve. I mean, think like this, okay? Think like this. You have your IT service desk. Your application goes down, your computer is not working, your password and your user IDs are not working. What do? You pick up your phone and you call up your IT and tell them, boss, please try and fix this up for me. So what does IT do? IT will create a ticket and they will try to work on that. So all of this can be done by the bot. So this is the scenario that I'm talking about over here. The benefit of RPA. So this was one of the challenges the customer came up with. How do I start deploying? And this is, by the way, 24/7 service, right? Because you might be required to work on an application at around 12 o'clock in the midnight or 5 o'clock in the morning, and any time of the day. We Indians are famous for doing that, right? So the idea is to have a response system, to have a service desk which is able to resolve all of these queries of the users and the customers any time during the day. Now you must be wondering why Mr. Dheeraj is talking about these when we are accounting professionals. We don't even care about our service resolution stuff like that. See, this is where I tell you the process is. What is the process here? The process is responding to queries. Now, these queries could be anything. Here, I'm responding to IT queries, system queries, service queries. Replicate that with something where you have set up an accounting service desk or a financial services desk, where you're trying to answer queries on, let's say, complex invoice processing, complex financial contracting, complex accounting guidelines. Do you think you would have the bandwidth of deploying somebody who can actually work on this 24/7 and sit behind the telephone? Absolutely not. What you need to do is you need to deploy a self-service bot which can answer those queries. Use the logic that you've defined it for, and answer the queries. And that's exactly what the self-service bot would do. All right, that's challenge number one. Repetitive events. Operations are typically subject to a high level of instances, repetitions. However, resolutions may vary from case to case, and many times SOP, which is called a summary on a page, do not carry enough detailed information for straight application for subsequent incidences. Now, this is again an IT scenario, or maybe sometimes a real life scenario where you must be wondering, right, boss? Everything we cannot automate. There are some exceptions. There are some straight through guidelines that you need to follow in order to implement or in order to complete a particular operational task, right? And sometimes you do not get those complete guidelines also. It is all clouded, it is all cloudy, it is not yet defined. Sometimes the process is not yet defined. What happens in those cases? In those cases, the bot or the robotic process automation uses your multiple knowledge management scenarios or utilizes your multiple knowledge sources. What are these multiple knowledge sources? Firstly, it's an historic repository, which means there are some historic data which is available for you to prove an event happening. All right. Secondly, it is about evolving on some of the similar queries that you get historically. The bot is able to understand those queries as well. Now, this is somewhere about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I agree, but yes, there are some self-learning models available within robotic process automation also. All right. Customer challenges. Third one is again on high cost of operations. Labor-intensive nature of operations results in higher cost, pressure to continuously improve performance. Also result in human resources issues as well. Come on, pretty much self-explanatory, right? Customers, they come up with challenge that, boss, forget about these challenges. I'll tell you about the new challenges that our customers are coming up these days. Customers saying, boss, I can only run RPA if I can run RPA. Okay, so the statement is not wrong. I'll repeat it again. Customers say I can only run RPA if I can run RPA. Now the meaning of the statement is I can embark the journey of RPA if I can only have the skills to do that internally. I do not every time have to depend on a partner or a consulting partner or a developer to do that. Give the capabilities to me. All right. Help me to create my own center of excellence. And my friends, that is where we are adding value to the entire story of digitalization. The story of digitalization or the success of digital implementation is not you keeping the customer dependent on you. The story or the success of digitalization is where you create those capabilities, you help the customer to create those capabilities, and then you transfer those capabilities back to the customer so that the customer's overall spend, I mean, firstly, the customer will reduce their operational costs because you've implemented automation. And secondly, the customer will appreciate you that you've also given that skill and that training back to the customer as well. Okay, by which they can, embark the journey on your own. You could keep the consulting dependency, external consulting dependency of the customer, agreed, but try to do a reverse knowledge transfer back to the customer, building these capabilities. And that's why very soon the customer, what used to happen was we used to implement RPA, great, but then the customer used to complain, boss, my cost of operations of RPA is going up. So from that perspective, transfer that capability back to the customer. Okay. How you can do that? Again, building these COE, citizen development programs that you can run. So all of that you can give it back to the customer. Activities prone to human error. I don't have to explain this, boss. If you're doing something, we humans sometimes tend to kind of get carried away by situations, right? We all get stressed. We all get, tensed. Sometimes even the most skilled accounting professional might do some errors. That's not the case with RPA, right? Where RPA can continuously, without getting stressed or fatigued, can perform the same level of tasks the way you've designed it time and again. And that's really the beauty of RPA, and this is again a benefit as compared to a conventional solution that you want to implement. Okay. With this, we move on to the next slide. Any comments from anyone? I know we are taking the questions towards an end. Probably I just need a few seconds to just have a glass of water. Is that okay? Okay, so now let's understand what are some of those quick implementations that you're seeing when you talk about your workflow or your API automation or orchestration, or you talk about your RPA itself, which we've been talking about, and obviously on the machine learning and intelligence part of it. Now, like I said, sometimes let me explain it in a form of a question. Some of us are in some of us are in Delhi, some of us are in Hyderabad, some of us are somewhere in the world. If we want to move from one location to another within let's say, I would say Delhi itself, would we take a flight? We will not take a flight. We'll probably take a taxi or a car or something like that, right? If we have to reach within few hours from one city to another, would you still prefer using a cab or a car? No, probably not. If it's a north south, you'll take a flight. Similarly, for some implementations or some use cases, you might or might not require a full-fledged unattended RPA. You can actually do it with your simple small plug and play workflow or a BPM platform automation also. What is a BPM? It's a business process management platform. And there are some BPM tools available in the market which offer that, which offer those automations as well. Things like ticketing, or your BPM flow automation, your integrator, your application monitoring, intelligent ticketing tool, your central workforce management, like your productivity reports, your shrinkage reports and stuff like that. Your intelligence system orchestration, if you want to do that, modernize an unattended service desk operation. So again, what all you can do by integrating multiple systems, and that these systems are not going to change even after 10 years. That's where you can actually go ahead and implement small scale RPA. That means, small scale API automation, which means you're taking a gap from moving from one place to another. Coming to robotic process automation. Things like you're modifying your process transactions, your data extraction, your complex data extraction, your data entry, your data validation, chatbot, voice bots, automated live chats, web scraping, data scraping, vanilla automation solutions. So all of that is again like taking a flight from one city to another, which would require an unattended, self-orchestrated RPA robot. So that is where you would see all of these scenarios perfectly qualify for an RPA bot to be implemented. Okay. Followed by artificial intelligence and machine learning. Obviously, your things like intelligent chatbots, unattended processing, non-routine transactions being managed, and then virtual assistant, things like Siri, Alexa. So these are again voice-based virtual assistant. The success of these assistants are not very, still debatable. But yes, in certain contact center scenarios, they have been found to be very successful. And these contact centers are generic in nature, does not require any specific responses or more complex analytical responses. NLP, natural language processing, machine learning bots, auto exception and processing, and unified customer communication design automation. So all of these scenarios, you see a very heavy involvement of artificial intelligence and machine learning, which means that all of these, and by the way, what is a similarity in all of these, right? These are all customer facing or user facing applications and user facing scenarios. All right. And that's where we are trying to implement an AI, because we need to understand our users and our customers in a much more better way. We need to have that constant evolution with these applications whenever we're talking about all of these scenarios. Okay. So these are some of the sample, I would not say that sample use cases, but these are more of sample deployment scenarios in various evolution of the use cases. Okay. Again, some of moving on to the next slide, doing a bit of a deep dive on some of the other use cases that we have. Primarily, we have our verticals like manufacturing and retail, finance, logistics, contact center, procurement and supply chain. So where RPA has been seen as a we have seen a lot of implementations, which organizations have done in these areas, things like automated bills of material, automated administration and reporting, ERP automation, predictive maintenance, and my colleague Neha will obviously share with you some of the videos that we have on ERP automation. There are some very interesting videos. I'm sure you can go through that. Finance. Again, we're talking to the whole finance group over here. Auto invoice processing, multilingual processing that can happen, automated cash application, cost accounting, cash allocation, account processing. All of that can be done seamlessly, done through unattended automation. Logistics and supply chain, things like automated workflow for shipment tracking, automated document management and processing, auto cash and dispatch. That's again, one of the procurement and supply chain use cases. Contact center, simple and complex chatbots and IVR for volume deflection and self-service. So, you all have interacted with certain. I know sometimes it's frustrating, right? You're ordering a food on your food ordering app, Zomato, and you desperately want to speak to somebody human at the other end, right? But all you get is a chatbot. But again, the beauty of implementing a chatbot is again more on how real human understanding that a chatbot can have, or a voice bot can have, and believe me, organizations are working constantly towards achieving this nirvana stage of human understanding, human interaction. And then procurement and supply chain, things like automated central procurement engines. Imagining you're trying to get all your procurement purchases and contracting onto one single engine. Imagine the power of negotiation that your organization will have when they can see the volume centrally reported onto that particular procurement engine. And organizations are doing that. Reading digital contracts, automated expense management engines, and automated supply chain engines, inventory versus supply, how much of purchase that I need to do against a certain inventory. All of those aspects can be covered using, robotic process automation. So with this, we can move on to the next slide, which talks about again a heat map, which is again an RP-enabled vertical deployment capability. Now, this is, like I said, I touched some 6 or 5 verticals. Ayaz, I may request you to please move on to the next slide. I don't know if that slide has already changed. But yeah, this heat map, the next slide in the heat map, which talks about how does typically some of the use cases they cut across verticals and horizontals. Ayaz, are you able to change it to the next slide? Ayaz, are you able to move on to the next slide? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Okay. So what you see on the left hand side is really the verticals. What you see on the bottom horizontal side of it is again the horizontals. The vertical and the horizontals. The vertical is again a vertical. It's industry, right? Banking and financial services. It's an industry. Insurance, healthcare and pharma, manufacturing, retail, telecom, travel, logistics. These are all industries that we speak about. And then there are certain horizontals that are cut across all of these industries. So you would definitely have finance and accounting in all of them. You would definitely have procurement in all of them. You would definitely have human resource in all of them. You definitely have a contact center in most of them. You definitely have sales and marketing in most of them, or all of them. Okay. So please remember, there would be some vertical use cases for which you need vertical specific product or process knowledge. Okay. If you're trying to automate a process, let's say, if you're trying to automate a process on, let's say, retail banking, or maybe capital markets within banking, you would need somebody who understand the asset management and the capital markets to a greater extent in banking. Similarly, within insurance, if you're trying to automate an actuarial process, you need to know what an actuarial process is all about. You need to understand, if you're trying to automate an underwriting process, you need to understand where underwriting starts, where underwriting ends. All right. So on the vertical side of it, you need a process expert. On the horizontal side of it, you also need a process expert, but that process expert may or may not have the vertical expertise. So it is okay. It is okay if we have a finance and accounting expert giving advices on a banking operations on a finance and accounting process. Totally fine. Okay. So don't be too much biased and don't be too much hell-bent on that. No, for a banking process, you need a human resource who has worked in a bank to work on a banking HR process. Don't do that. An HR guy will know the HR processes pretty well. And the HR processes don't change, whether it's banking, IT, pharma, or manufacturing, So identify who is a vertical expert, identify who is a horizontal expert. The heat map that you see over here on the screen, all right, all the darker areas are a sure shot, low-hanging fruit for all your automation implementations. And the obvious answer is the lighter shades are less in automation. So if you see human resource having a very faded side from a banking, insurance, and healthcare, obviously human resource is more of an employee face-to-face kind of an organization. All right, where you have the HR person directly interacting with the people. So the scope of automation is less over there. Similarly, contact center, scope of automation is less because you have a one-to-one interaction that's happening between the people and the verticals. Okay, so this heat map talks about, firstly, it cuts across your horizontals and verticals. and then talks about the sample use cases that you can implement in each of these. So I'm just going to touch upon a few of them, like healthcare and pharma. You have things like pharmacovigilance, which is again from a provider side of it, and the claim processing and the payer and provider claim assessment, from a claim settlement perspective, a disability perspective, also short-term disability, long-term disability, and stuff like that. So all of those use cases would fall over here. Manufacturing and retail, things like bill of material, bill of quality management, smart device management through IoT or invoice processing. All of those things can be a classic use case within manufacturing retail. Telecom, again, integrated workflow on telecom side of it. And this workflow, by the way, is going to be your CSM workflow, which is customer service management workflow. That includes your ACD, which is automated call distribution management, your IVR, all of that put together forms a part of your CSM workflow. And then automated self-service modules, which again, talks about the self-service options that you provide to our customers in terms of either the US registration provisioning or service change or service enhancement and service upgradation, stuff like that. And obviously the virtual agents that I spoke about earlier, which talks about all the virtual agents to handle real-time customer queries, 24/7 customer queries and stuff like that. So that's really the some of the use cases that we see over here. Travel and logistics, an interesting area. IoT based command center and tracking for all the bills of material that's moving on the supply chain or the conveyor belt. And this is an interesting one because you would have seen, and I know not many people are here on the travel and logistics side of it, but logistics, sometimes you have the shipment tracking, you have a shipment tracking, a real-time shipment tracking happening. How do you do that, on the goods in transit and stuff like that? So you basically try to implement and convert every BPM or a workflow into a real-time ticketing system. And that's how you get your real-time updates. So that's really the idea over here. Moving on to the next slide, Ayaz, if I may request you to move on to the next slide, which will talk about what is RPA in finance and accounting processes necessarily. So that's where we get a little more specific in nature. So we all know that department that manages financial operations almost in all organizations is often under the ever mounting pressure in doing more in lesser time, right? In addition to this, there has been maintain transparency in all the processes. There's no room for errors. The most minor of the mistake can turn into a substantial financial loss, and that's what makes the skill of a chartered accountant as a very rare, very respected, and a very, very, very highly complex skill sets in the market. Not only just in the Indian market, across globally. All right, I might be a propagator of robotic process automation, but let me tell you, we're dealing with one of the most complex operational scenarios when we're talking about financial and accounting systems and guidelines. So this eventually calls for automation and accounting in finance and accounting, wherein your RPA helps you to move the operations and functioning from manual processes to an automated and more efficient one. The recurring and monotonous tasks like data entry, maintaining Excel spreadsheets, etc., are remarkably taken over by RPA. So, like I said earlier, nothing new in that. Moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about some of the implementations of again from an accounting perspective. As if you can move on to the next slide. So the top 4 cases of RPA in finance, RPA use cases in finance will highlight how it miraculously reduces the silos in your business budget for various departments by handling them, thus improving the financial health of the company. So things like account receivable. So the cash flow and the financial closing is a crucial factor, right, in maintaining equilibrium. It is important that continuity between invoice generated and payment is made. With hundreds of transactions happening in a day, completing this task with 100% accuracy is fairly difficult and might require many employees. Now, this is a classic case. I've moved on to the next slide. If you can please move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the thing about over here is again volume, guys. Please remember that chart that I showed you on your acceptance criteria for RPA. All right. So if you're trying to implement RPA on an account receivable or an AR kind of a process, it is very important for you to understand the volumes. If the volume is not there, please do not even think about implementing RPA, because you might just be increasing the cost rather than reducing the cost, of automation. So the typical challenges that come is the continuity between your the invoice that you're generating and the payment that you're making. Sometimes invoices are not being read correctly, or there are some exceptions that are being generated in the invoice understanding and stuff like that. Or you need to firstly align contractually all the invoice. So all of those revalidation or validation parameters also come in. I'm sure majority of you would be aligning your contractual obligations to your invoices, at least on the non-standard catalog ordering system and payment system, right? So from that perspective, it is important for you to understand what are the general rules and logic that you can incorporate within the bot to ensure that this account receivable process is seamlessly achieved. Moving on the inventory management, another section of any company, especially one in the production and manufacturing that has a heavy flow of journal entries and necessitates the financial planning, is an inventory, warehousing management, and department. Now, this is something which is again, slightly complex, right? Not because it involves complex journal entries, but again, management of inventory that gets automatically reflected in your real-time journal practices is very important. And for that, you need, if you remember, one of the use cases that I shared earlier was bringing everything onto a central procurement or an inventory or a central supply inventory layer, right? Where you have all the goods and services being listed out into a standard catalog kind of a thing, where your journal entries are more facilitated and more in a better way. So again, a bit of process transformation and a bit of smart warehousing management can actually take you in a more robust and operations. Moving on, payment processing. Like I said, RPA is capable of automating all the pre and post payment processes. It's not only validates the authenticity by monitoring and identifying any duplicate, fraudulent, or missing payments, but it also validates and registers the complete ones as well. All right. Now, this is very important, guys. We all deal with PCI DSS compliant payments, right? And that's a regulation that we follow globally in terms of the PCI DSS compliance. Now, do you know that PCI DSS compliance does a backend reconciliation for all the payments that are made on certain payment platforms? And this is being done using RPA as a solution. Okay, so from that perspective, it becomes all the more important for us to ensure that we respect the guidelines and we incorporate those guidelines onto the RPA bot. All right, wherein it can validate and register the complete transaction from an end-to-end perspective. And it is here where RPA can also be used as a cloud solution that makes the storage and the data extraction extremely easy, because I know there's a data warehousing rules that are applicable in terms of payment processing. They are, because you have audits, all right? You have taxation audits, you have accounting audits, all right? And then you have other compliance audits as well. So maintaining a trail is very important, and this is where your automated trail mechanism comes in. Okay, so this is both for validation, reconciliation for all the payments which are being done automatically. All right. Things like, you have a real-time repository of all the payments historically, let's say. Conventionally, I don't know, the data storage is stored for approximately, I think, for maybe 3 years or 4 years. But what if you need to run an audit or a taxation audit that runs beyond 5 years or 6 years or maybe 10 years down the line, right? So that's where RPA can be effectively used as a cloud solution in order to fetch in the information. Customer onboarding. RPA makes knowing your customers easy, as there is auto retrieval of all the data about your prospective customers. It filters out the most suitable ones, and your employees to have to work only with the creamy layer, leading to higher productivity. This is again more from banking and a financial services, where you have the credit acceptance or the customer acceptance criteria, where RPA can actually help you to prioritize your customers and prioritize your deployments. Before we move on to the next slide, I don't know if my colleague Neha, you want to come in and showcase some of the demonstration videos. Maybe not now, but later. But the idea is that we showcase some bots in action, where you can get an idea of how robotic process automation works, how does the implementation work, and you can get a fair amount of idea in terms of what is the benefit that we're going to be talking about. All right, so these demos are typically built for on a real life scenarios, and these demos will help you understand conceptually. They will help you understand what is a real life scenario for any kind of an implementation. Now, before we do that, let's do a little bit of a deep dive in terms of using RPA as an enabling layer. Okay. Now, please, for just a minute, deflect from this particular slide. Do not refer to the slide. I'm going to explain you something, and close your eyes and pay attention to it. Every technology has a capability of evolving. Okay, every technology. I ask, may I request you to move on to the next slide, but just keep it blank for a minute. Okay, every technology has a capability of evolving, which means you were using. I'm sure we all were using Nokia phones. Around 10 years back, or maybe 15 years back. And then slowly, the BlackBerry came in. And then what came was smartphones, Samsung, Ericsson, and all of these brands. And today, I think more or less, you exclude the Chinese junk aside, but more or less, you might have only two players in the market. One is Samsung, and then what you have is Apple. And then obviously you have, again, some Chinese phones in the market. Now, what is happening in the market? What is happening in the market is, again, is evolution, which is slowly and gradually the world is moving on to the next level. Now, with this, what is happening is there is a need to brainstorm, there's a need to innovate, there is a need to come up with new capabilities. Now, where does that leave with RPA? All right, RPA. Okay, we understood it's an area for which was APIs earlier, macro, and now it is programmable, unattended. Deployments and stuff like that. Now, what is happening with RPA is not slowly, I would say, RPA is very fast becoming as an enabling layer for other technologies as well. Now, we all have heard about IoT, Internet of Things. Any device that has a telematics platform and connected to the internet is technically qualifying as an IoT-ready device. I will repeat myself again. Any device which is connected to the internet and has a telematics platform to record data is an IoT-ready device. It could be anything. All right. It could be your sensor on your lifts, the elevators that we use. That's an IoT. It could be a conveyor belt on the airports where you receive your luggage. That's an IoT. It could be the sensors deployed in your car which send out warning signals. That's IoT. And I'm not even going on, what is smart watches and smart wearables and stuff like that. I'm not even going there. Forget about it. They're probably, more advanced versions of IoT. Okay. Then we're talking about blockchain. Cryptocurrency. Some countries have regulated it. Some countries have not regulated it. We all have heard about cryptocurrency. Virtual assistants or virtual augmentation. We have Alexa. We have and other voice assistants available in the market. And then obviously the analytics. What I will come back to explaining you is how does RPA act as an enabling layer in all of these technology pillars. I've not mentioned digital twin over here, but digital twin also perfectly qualifies to be using RPA as an enabling layer. Now, RPA becomes that fuel which fuels all of these leading technologies or these technology pillars. All right. Now, before I will do a further drill down on this, but I would want you to see some demo available. And with this, I invite my colleague Neha. Neha, will it be possible for you to share the demo?
Yeah, thank you, Dheeraj. I will hold space for a minute. I am just trying to connect.
In the meanwhile, we have Neha sharing her demo. So maybe I can kind of spend some more time in explaining you how does RPA act as an enabling layer. So you almost be wondering, we are accounting professionals, boss. Don't give us this yarn on RPA as an enabling layer, all of that. No, but the thing that you need to know and understand is the capabilities of RPA can be utilized in every sphere of your operational processes. Number one, what does RPA do? RPA does data extraction. Can you do a data extraction from the telematics platform on IoT? Yes. What is a telematics platform? Things like data on the health of the device, the conveyor belt, whether it's chipping, the noise it's making, the heat and everything. All right. So, so things like that. RPA will do the data extraction from those telematics device, feed it into your real-time dashboards, will let you know, okay, boss, this is how your device is performing. AI machine learning, I already spoke about that earlier. You have an historical data, machine needs to learn. Where do you fetch that historical data from your applications? RPA is the answer. RPA will extract that data, put it in a format which will be easier for the machine to recognize, and that's again RPA acting as an enabling layer. Blockchain, bot enables the blockchain to exchange information within the existing IT systems and help establishing monitoring capabilities around transaction processing activities. There you go. RPA is your answer. The bot enabling your blockchain platform management and maintenance. There you go. Okay, so things like these. Similarly, for analytics or advanced analytics, you have capabilities like RPA extracting information, putting it into advanced analytical engines, which help you to understand and predict the data as well. Okay, and with last, and then I hand it over to Neha again, which is on the virtual augmentation, which talks about how does the virtual assistant interacts based on the preset rules that you set the queries that are being extracted by the bots, what the virtual assistant is supposed to answer when a query is run, all of that backend integration and backend data extraction can be done using RPA bots. All right. Neha, I guess you're ready with the demo. So I hand it over again back to you. I wanted to complete the slide. And now I think the slide is completed. So I hand it over back to you, Neha. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirish, for your patience. So yes, here on the demo, where you will see what we gonna take you through is a complete life cycle of an invoice processing by a bot. So what you will see, this is actually a robot, which Dheeraj explained. It's actually a software piece running on your devices that could be your desktop, your personal computers, your servers. So this is how the bot will work, and then you will see the bot gonna do all the activities like actually a human agent will do. So you see some steps here: step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, step six. So you will see that how bot is programmed and configured to do all these steps, which is like finding the invoices, scanning the invoices, extracting the data. After extracting the data, keying into another software, which could be your accounting software in these cases. Then submitting it, and then once all the submission happen, it will notify the authority that yes, this work is done. So this is a complete, I would say, a six-step process which you will see about doing on your system while you are engaged on other activities. So I let the video play. I hope it loads. Yes. So here I'm triggering a bot. So now let's see how it's starting working. So it goes to the step one. We run the bot. It goes to the step one. We will key in, okay, which email address to be fetched. It will log in as an admin on any software piece. So this is actually bot doing the entry after reading the invoices. So all the business logics like how the convention, the naming convention to be formed, and you can see how fast it is working. Maybe few seconds on one single entry, and it is going all the entry after performing all the correlations, and then finally sending out the notifications directly that yes, this document is processed and uploaded on on the software, and you will get this confirmation. So initially, earlier we used to have human agents doing this work, which is now done completely unattended. We call it unattended because there is no human intervention required. So the bot does all the work unattended, and finally you can see the process being completed. And even then, as an authority, you're only responsible to commit that yes, this record is processed and okay to process. So your 80% or 90% of the invoice review and reconciliation is actually done by the bot, and you are just doing the last bit of validation. So here you see that in less than 2 minutes, your bot actually processed three of the invoices. Now I will also present one more use case, which gonna be another interesting one. So you will see here how the codes are being managed. by large organizations. So in the previous case, you saw the invoice managed by an individual, but in this case, you will see how complex code activities are tackled by the bot. So you can assume it to be a portal on which you have all the informations, and then your bot will start doing the submission of the code. Your RFQ numbers are generated. Bot will do the collection of the RFQ number. It validates the status and see against, okay, how many other vendors are logged on this, and it will start working out with those vendors and submitting the costs. So here, actually, the bot from an organization is actually going to a vendor portal to look into all the details of how many, the codes are waiting response, how many are requested, how many are accepted. So here, after validating all the information, the bot can then bot can automatically approve the request after, we define it like this. Okay, if so and so information is there, and this going to be the numbers based upon the business scenarios, it should approve and not approve, or so it's the complete quoting activity is actually managed by the bot after seeing the request coming from a customer. So you receive a request for a quote as a supplier. You have sent out your quote for so and so, and now after the quote has been sent, the process of invoice processing is triggered, and that part you have seen in the previous one. But here you will see a little bit more detail that how bot gonna process also an invoice in the actual corporate tools. So you see this step, the first step was automatically managed by the bot. It is now going on the second step. I will skip some parts for the purpose of saving. And then finally a price quotation is being sent. This is an equivalent to an invoice against which it will key in the PO number, which is being generated. It will go to the vendor tool, look for that quote request, confirm that, hey, yes, the invoice has been received, and then it will prepare for the courier, and it can further check with the tracking system and key and update the system with the tracking information that yes, this order is complete and has been updated with the courier information. So you see the process of quoting, invoicing, updating your tools, and then working out the courier shipments. What is done in this complete process automatically by the bot with no human intervention. But these are like two of the use cases I thought would help to on the forum today. But maybe I would also double click on one of the objectives which Dheeraj started to explain the evolution of RPA, and then I will give it back to Dheeraj. Now in the industry, we are saying that the RPA was already there many years ago. We have been using under various verticals, under various uh, you know industries. But now, how the market is evolving from RPA to automation, and you will see a new term being rolled out, which is called hyper automation. And that's what I will take a few minutes to explain with that, and after that I'll give it back to Dheeraj to be there with us. So maybe I'll try to explain it with one of the demonstration again. We work with a lot of our partners, so this is one of the very interesting presentation from our partners. So how the path to hyper automation is we call it a journey. Okay, you may be starting with one use case, one task, but this eventually evolve to end-to-end hyper automation journey. So you may be starting here with a small task to automate, or a small integration project to start, to which Dheeraj was mentioning, point integration. So we will be automating tasks, integrating tools to do an end-to-end automation process. The next stage is, after you do this, you have built some your basic use cases. You want to discover more. You want to discover more opportunities for automation, and then take it to the level of applying artificial intelligence on it to make this system more robust and more intelligent, so that your bot can also equip with the decision making capabilities. So that's where you see a curve of hyper automation. So it's just not automation, but moving to a hyper scale to by applying artificial intelligence to optimize performance. And this is a continued improvement cycle. You keep on integrating intelligence while making your robots more intelligent, helping our operations or human agents to be more efficient, and then creating a history of experience to continue discovering more opportunities and more. So this is the complete cycle of hyper automation. You will see the market is evolving across industries, across sectors, and this, as per analysts, you will see this gonna stay. The momentum gonna stay for another 5 years to make our system more and more intelligent and working. So this is the last I thought to cover. Dheeraj, you still with us?
Okay, thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot for showcasing this. Ayaz, maybe I request you to come back on the presentation and start sharing it on the screen right now, so that we can move on with the deck. Yeah. Okay. So what you saw was some of the implementation use. Can everybody see this slide? Can you all see the screen? Okay, it's loading from
Yes,
you.
sir.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
sir.
Okay, so like I was saying, now the space has changed now, wherein RPA, which earlier was a core technology, now is slowly and gradually becoming, as an enabling layer, which means everybody is using RPA as a technology. Now, what does it mean for us? It means that uh, it means that very soon you would either see these applications, these platforms will have inbuilt RPA capabilities. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two, you would see core RPA platforms getting into more of vertical expertise. Now, both are interesting scenarios in times to come. Okay. What does it mean? It means that people who are doing automation, they will start learning about businesses. People who are doing business or who are running those business applications. So I'm just taking an example, all the accounting applications that you were using for the last 10 years, you would gradually see they start having automation capabilities. Now, everybody would have one. The reason why I was trying to share this slide was to let everybody know where, and let everybody question where do they stand in the years to come. So it's a scary as well as an exciting times to come when you see RPA or automation, robotic process automation, becoming a kind of an enabling layer for all of these applications that you see today. Whether it's any vertical, whether it's finance and accounting, it's insurance, banking, you would see a touch of RPA, robotic process automation, or at least automation in all of these applications. So time is now to become more intelligent and more process oriented, so that we are able to create a legitimate and a justified position for all of us in the coming days. Otherwise, the situation is going to be pretty. I mean, we all read newspapers, right? Very soon you would see some news coming in from Meta as well, the Facebook. So all in all, moving on to the next slide. Now I want to quickly, I know we are moving towards the end of our session. Very quickly, I want to touch base upon an aspect about virtual assistants as well, which will talk about things like how does what is chatbot. I've been speaking a lot about chatbots. Everybody knows about virtual assistants and stuff like that. So please understand, in today's scenario, the chatbots could be deployed in either doing a real customer interaction, all right, an accounting help desk kind of a thing. You have an accounting help desk. You have people coming in and asking queries, all right. That's a perfect application for a chatbot. You have people trying to do certain taxation queries or taxation inquiries automatically. That's a perfect area for chatbot deployment. You have certain validation checks to be performed. That's again an area for chatbot implementation, where a chatbot bases certain knowledge or information can perform all those checks. Then you have certain deployments like validating a user or validating a payment or an audit trail to be maintained. That's a perfect example for deploying a chat. Now, what do these chatbots do? Okay, let's understand. What do these chatbots do? Number one, and this is really interesting. Okay, and I'm not talking about the chatbots that you see on any shopping website or maybe on a food ordering website. I know India is pretty digital in nature, but not all chatbots are intelligent chatbots. The chatbot that I'm talking about over here do have some inbuilt capability in terms of either some intelligence is there or some capability in terms of understanding the queries and stuff like that. Number one, chatbots or the virtual assistants have the capability of speech to text conversion and analytics, which means basis the way you type or you chat with the chatbot is smart enough to understand and analyze your query your mood, your sentiment. We call this a sentiment analytics, which is basically understanding if a customer is angry or a customer is not happy with the conversation, stuff like that, okay, based on certain responses. But again, on a virtual assistant perspective, this is the first speech to text conversion. Real-time user experience analytics, which means it can actually give you a meter. How is your user experience on certain accounting help desk or taxation help desk is performing? Number two, which is send alerts and take action, which is workflow integrated capability. I've submitted my tax statement. I did not get a feedback. Okay, I will create a ticket and I will follow up on that. So chatbot does that. Managing alerts. So it gives you a ticket number that your application or your tax query has been submitted. And you will receive a resolution shortly. So the chatbot will create a ticket, the backend tax associate queue, and the tax associate queue will be able to help you. Something like that. Query allocation and escalation. I'm not able to handle a certain query. I escalate it to my supervisor or to some colleague who has a better experience and more knowledge than me. So handing over the tickets can happen. All right. So that is one of the functionalities of the chatbot, followed by pull information, which is again data extraction, data processing, application integration. So which means the pulling of information from one application to another in terms of updating the information. So you have, let's say, your UIDAI database and a PAN database, which is being linked. You have certain documents to verify, certain PAN numbers to verify. Instantly, a chatbot can do all those activities in a short amount of time. You don't, and again, see again, these are very repeated activities, right? Otherwise, we would be setting up an accounting help desk or a service desk to manage all of these activities. But here, all of these activities can be managed by a chatbot because every process is a repeated process and a simple process. Okay. Followed by resolving queries. So I mean that's a major function of the chatbot itself, which means the queries are being resolved real time by the chatbot, and the resolution is being provided. Power dialogues, which means that taking complex decision making on behalf of humans. Now, this is now please pay attention. Okay, the last point that's mentioned over here is more related to the chatbots which have AI or ML capabilities. They are not the normal smart chatbots that you see. AI ML capabilities, which means that they can actually take decisions on behalf of the user. All right. Imagine taxation advices being given by the chatbot. I'm not saying, at least to my knowledge, I don't see a chatbot which is doing that. But in future, who knows? You might have a chatbot doing those as well. All right. So this is on the chatbot side of it. Now, chatbot, again, please remember, is applicable and does manage the areas where you have a direct customer interaction. All right. Where you have the direct question and answer relationship between a user, customer, or an employee. Okay. So these are the areas where chatbots can be deployed seamlessly. Moving on to the next slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but again, this talks about the basic architecture, the way the chatbot collects information in terms of banking or a financial authority. A customer connects to a website. Usually, a chatbot is hosted on a website, on a web portal of the customer, where the information is readily extracted in the backend system. So chatbot is like that particular virtual user which is able to access all the applications, obviously post authentication, user accounts and all of that, which can get information like product type, generic information, documents required, eligibility criteria, application status, register complaint, change accounting details and stuff like that. So all of those activities at the beginning can be performed by the chatbot. We do not need a human to perform all those activities. All right. So how does it connect? So this map actually shows you, the flow of information of a chatbot. At the back end, the information is being pulled and then converted into a readable format from an output perspective, and then related back to the user. And imagine how quickly all of this happens. Imagine how quickly all of this happens. You type a query with the chatbot goes into the system, authenticates you as a user, pulls up the information, gives you the required resolution or the response. I mean, it's much faster than a human, and secondly, there's no human involved. So you can understand the kind of efficiency that you're being delivered just by implementing this simple chatbot on a service desk scenario. Okay. So moving on to and this probably would be my last slide, or maybe a few of the last slides over here, which talks about whenever you are going to build an RPA journey in an organization or in your organization, it will primarily consist of three areas. One is RPA consulting and licensing. Why RPA consulting? Why? Because, like I said again, RPA is a technology where you have process at the center, robotic process automation. Wherever there's a process, there will be business consulting. You cannot imagine doing automation projects without any business consulting. You get the process wrong, you get the whole RPA technology wrong. All right. So that's where the business consulting comes in. We call it as RPA consulting. And licensing. Licensing means selection of which RPA service provider to select. There are various RPA service providers available in the market today. You have people like UiPath, you have people like ServiceNow, you have people like Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, who have been doing this RPA deployments. So that's one. Second is development and implementation. That's the second stage of RPA, which is on RPA tool, developing the bot itself, building those integration layers, building the bot logic, building the orchestration to manage the bots, integration with other applications, defining your data center and databases where the application would rest, and how would it extract the information. All right. So all of these technical information, all of these development activities are done as a part of development and implementation. Now, development and implementation is the phase where all the process understanding is transferred onto a developer. All the process knowledge is transferred onto the system architect who's going to build the RPA bot for yourself. All right. It is here that you engage a technical guy to perform your process automation. All right. But please keep in mind, there is a very important phase, and it's not written over here, which is called as testing, which is also done as a part of this implementation scenario. You test the bot before you put into a live environment. You test the bot 100 times before you actually put the bot in the live environment. And please, this is a request from my end, do not do the mistake of a switch off and a switch on. That doesn't happen in RPA. So you need to have a parallel run, which means your manual support will continue along with the bot for few amount of time. Which means if your bot is ready and your bot is tested, you would still need a manual support for approximately 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe a month's time while the bot is running, just to ensure that you have a stable performance by the bot. And all of these aspects, there are templates, there's a roadmap, there's a project guidelines available when you try and do this, these deployments and implementation. The last, but never the least, is maintenance. If you have a scenario where you have multiple bots being operated in your organization or in your customer's organization, keep a minimal staff to manage your bots if you are expecting a lot of changes that are going to happen in the bots as well. Okay, so these are the three major stages of RP implementation in any organization, whether it's a financial organization, whether it's an IT organization, whether it's a banking organization, wherever and whosoever wants to undertake this RPA journey will have to undergo all of these three major milestones of RPA. With this, I will take a pause, and if there are any questions, please direct it to me right now, and we can move ahead.
Just a second, sir. I'll forward you all the questions. Or would you like me to read question one by one so you could answer?
Sorry, it's some bandwidth issues which is avoiding me to do that right now. Is that okay if I continue with voice? Otherwise, my connection will again. Yeah, I don't want to disturb that actually. Okay, you can probably send them, send them on a chat, and we can try and answer that one by one.
Definitely, sir. Just a second. Sir, I'll send you the question one by one. So the first question is, how can we enhance our skills with respect to robotics and automation? Dheeraj sir, are you available?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Okay, yeah. So the first question that I've got is from Shalin Shah in Mumbai. So how can we enhance our skills with respect to robotics and automation? Right. So again, what skills are you talking about? Are you talking about developer skills? My question is, you are expected to have some basic architectural understanding of robotic process automation. You don't have to be a developer in order to perform the development activity. All right. But still, if you need to understand, there are websites available like uipath.com, you have servicenow.com, you have automationanywhere.com. You can go onto these websites. There are free of charge courses available, right from solution architect to a consultant, a business analyst kind of courses. You can take up these courses and which will help you build certain basic knowledge about how RPA and robotic process automation are done. And that, my friend, is the skill that you need to start with in terms of developing on the robotic process automation side of it. Because see, either you are a business side or you are on the technical side. You cannot be expecting to be a developer and understand accounting practices at the same time. Okay, so from that perspective, my suggestion would be to start going onto these websites. There are free courses available, and which you can take, which you can build your understanding on. uipath.com, automationanywhere.com. Go onto these websites. These are RPA service providers. They are the software. They provide the software, and you can go onto this website and you can get all the necessary certifications. All right. So that's the response I have. The second question from Wasim Shamsuddin: are there any certifications or courses that must be taken by the CAs with regards to robotics and artificial intelligence? So yes, I don't know about if you're trying to do that from Dubai, but yes, you do have certain courses which have been defined by by NASSCOM, in India, which offer you certifications, and these certifications are primarily around accounting practices, they are trying to launch these accounting practices using the new automation software, the ISO certifications as well. You have the CRPAP hallmark certification that you can, I'll again, refer it to. The CRPAP is the Certified RPA Practitioner. That's one of the certifications that you can actually do, which you can also refer to the TPI CPEBM features of the RPA course. That's again, one of the certifications that you can go through it. And then I think the CRPAP is the most prevalent one, which will basically cover all of your certification requirements from a NASSCOM perspective. So you can refer to those. Then you also have you also have the automated leisure practices, which is AGP, which is again a program launched by NASSCOM. Okay. And which will help you on the big data foundation kind of courses, which is BDFC, which is again launched by NASSCOM. And there's another tie-up with a company called Future Skills. You can refer to that as well. And this will give you some of the certifications on AI and robotics as well. Okay. Moving on to the next question by Wasim. With the new era of robotics and AI, what would be the new skills expected from CS in the industry, and especially on the audit side of it? Yeah, so that's a good question. On the audit side of it, you would have the PRP and the ASI audits that actually happen. So there are various country guidelines. There are various country guidelines on the accounting practices that are prevalent from an audit perspective. But again, from the accounting perspective, again, there are different certifications. But the key idea is, how do you create a workflow? See, please understand, there are workflows available for audits. All right. There are some BPM workflows, business process workflows, business process management workflows, which specifically work on the audit side of it. All right. Like I can talk about in the US, you have the FATCA audit compliance certification, level 1, level 2, level 3. Similarly, you have similar certifications in your own country as well. Depending upon what you do in India, definitely there are some taxation certificates issued within NASSCOM as well, which offer you really good courses on audit and accounting and financial services. Moving on to the next question by Jayakumar Trivedi. Does the institute plan to publish a guidance note on auditing RPA tools? On auditing RPA tools, I don't know. I don't know. There's a guideline that needs to be done by CAI, but RPA tool itself do have a central control tower, which helps you to audit, manage, monitor, report the performance of your bot. So that report can readily be picked up from any of the control towers of the orchestrators of the bot, and that can be used as an audit trail for any of the institutes. Moving on to the next question by Murli Krishna. What are the different types of RPA tools for simplification and accounting proficiency with examples? See, RPA tools available, there are various RPA tools available in the market, okay? Each one of them having good capabilities, if not excellent capabilities on accounting practices. But out of my experience and my experience of working in the business process side of it, and the efficiency of the tools that I have seen personally, I would say the number one being UiPath, followed by Automation Anywhere, followed by ServiceNow, which is really coming up with a lot of these. They are the newest entry in the automation market. But let me tell you, their product is at par, if not excellent, if not more better than UiPath and Automation Anywhere. But their product is also at par with any of these RPA service providers. So do visit their site. You would get tons and tons of materials available. UiPath.com. I'm repeating again. It's UiPath.com. Go to their website. ServiceNow.com. Go to their website. AutomationAnywhere.com. Go to their website. Search for use cases on finance and accounting. And trust me, you will get a lot of good information available. Ramji, is GST portal processing based on RPA? Okay, I would not know that. I'm sorry. Yes, but in my earlier company, we were helping the government of India design the GST portal. Yes, there was some element of automation. And Ramji, this is a very good question that you've asked, because if you remember, the when I was talking about RPA being an enabling layer, I was telling you that either these applications will have automation features, or the automation companies will have the business vertical features. And that's a classic example where GST portal, I don't know if they have RPA features, but yes, certain elements in GST portal, like the calculation of the tax as per the commodity, pulling up the commodity catalog, pulling up the commodity category. Like I know for textile and for textile and clothing, it's a complex GST calculation, right? And people scratch their heads whenever they get a GST invoice, or they need to recon a GST invoice, and it relates to a textile inventory. So again, some of these aspects have been automated, where the GST portal automatically pulls up these catalog and these category of service items and goods and services, and it's able to display appropriate taxes applicable. But again, I would not be able to comment if they're using RPA, but yes, the automation is being used in the GST portal. Moving on to the next question by Amit Jain. Has ICAI collaborated with any agencies who can provide some standardized RPAs for those in professional industry? I would leave that for ICAI to decide and answer. So maybe that's some question for the panel members from ICAI on this. I don't know if you want to take a stab at this right now, or you want to reach out to the question. The next question that we have is, where can one read use cases of robotic process automation practically implemented around the world, or that matter in India and area of accounting, reporting, etc.? Good question. I think this has come from Kiran. Kiran, so what you can do is, like I said, you can go on uipath.com. You will find a lot of finance and accounting questions which you can readily refer in terms of what are the applicabilities, what is the success, what are the customer challenges being addressed as a result of RPA use cases within financial and accounting domain. Okay. The next question is from Kapil. If I'm not missed out any question, where and how to start with RPA, including it's a learning. Okay, you start with identifying your process first, Kapil. Start with identifying your process. Once you've got a process in place, identify the repeated tasks which you can automate, identify the efficiency that you would deliver as a result of those tasks being automated, and your job stops there. The rest will be taken by technology. The ROI, yes, you'll have to work with the technology department to calculate the ROI of the solution that you're going to present as a part of the technology. If your management or your leadership accepts it, they will give you their blessings to start with that project, and you can start implementing your RPA projects. So that's your first start point. Your start point is identify processes, identify areas which can be automated using RPA, and the category for selection of RPA. I've already shared that with you earlier. Okay. So if any process or any business area is fitting into that category, that's your start point. Moving on to the next question by Popri, VSSN and Bithal. What's the difference between blockchain and RPA? How cost effective is RPA for medium and small enterprise? So, I mean, there's no similarity, first of all, between blockchain and RPA. Blockchain is more of a timestamp information flow in a workflow. All right. And RPA is something which is automation. So there's no similarity. However, going to the next question, which is how cost effective is RPA for medium and small enterprises? Refer to your volumes. If you have high volumes, high manual effort, you are paying a lot in your operational expenses, that is a qualification. That's an alert for you to start processing or understanding that RPA could be implemented. All right. For small and medium enterprises, I would say if you have a lot of volumes, that's your classic case. If you have a high operational cost, that's a classic case. Sometimes in small enterprises, the cost of RPA versus ROI study needs to be done in absolute detail, because they might not have the appetite or the investment appetite to invest in technology enhancement. Okay, so do that study before undertaking any project. I have next question from Palakkar. Any RPA already developed for using audit process? Yes, there are a lot of audit use cases available within UiPath. And again, these audit use cases are for online audits only, not for physical audits. We do not have any RPA deployment for physical audits, but yes, any online audits or any book audits, recon audits, guidelines or taxation audits, all of that use cases does exist in UiPath. Please refer to that. A question from Pankaj, shall AI will not be able to handle the changes in RPA? No, so AI does not handle the changes. It's RPA. RPA is a technology or a software in itself. We can make it intelligent by introducing AI. All right, but let me tell you, there are some capabilities available. In fact, this is a very good question. There are some capabilities available where the programming of the bots is becoming more and more intelligent by self-correction. So the bots are able to self-correct based on multiple test scenarios, the capability of the automation scenarios itself. Okay. Next question from Madan Lal is how to use RP and audit compliances. My answer is the same. Please refer to the website uipath.com. You will get a lot of use cases on audits and taxation. Next question that I've got is from Lalit. I fail to understand the very need to substitute anything with human. What will the huge population do? Okay, great. No comments on that, sir. Sorry. The next question that I have from Ramji again is, in case of inventory, the fixed costs have to be apportioned only on used capacity basis. What about standby capacity for allocation of fixed costs in cost accounting? Again, so these are use cases, guys. So my request is, all of these use cases, you would see some or the other repeated activity. If there's an allocation that needs to happen basis a fixed cost allocation, all right, that would be done using your bot. You need to feed in the guidelines to the bot on how to do or how to go about doing the fixed cost allocation in cost accounting. Okay, all those guidelines can be fed in. Some data extraction guidelines will happen, but some accounting guidelines will have to be done on a manual or an attended way as well. So it's not going to be a completely unattended process, because I know on the cost allocation process, on the cost allocation or the revenue allocation process side of it, there are certain guidelines based on certain cost allocation criteria. All right. So please incorporate what all you can as a rule to the bot, and rest will have to be an attended process where the human being will attend or monitor the output of the bot. Okay. Next question is from Ansham. Can we all receive the presentation after the webinar? I'll try my level best. It's a corporate presentation. We'll have to work towards it. Thank you. Next question is from Ashutosh. How the maker and the checker concept restrict RPA? Again, maker and checker is again based on the audit scenarios for RPA. There are certain engines available which inspect the RPA code as it's being developed based on certain test scenarios. All right. So it can test the code. It can verify the quality of the code as well, based on the desired output that you define for an RPA. All right. Some of the bots can already do that. Romi Sabani, I wanted to confirm that we need to scan the purchase the invoices and upload it in SAP, and the bots to pass the unattended entries as demonstrated by you. Neha, you want to take that up if that's fine? Neha, If you're okay, I think she has dropped. Neha, if you're speaking on mute. I see you speaking on the mute. Okay, maybe let me try and answer that question. So Arvind, sorry, Romy, you wanted to confirm that you need to scan the purchase invoice and upload them to SAP for the bot to pass on entries. Yes, not necessarily. Sometimes the scanning is a mandatory physical document archival request or a regulation at times, because you need to keep a physical copy and you need to scan the document. But sometimes the portal on which the invoice is uploaded can readily be picked up. All right. But yeah, necessarily you have to convert the paper into an electronic form of information, and only then the bot can extract the information. But scanning, is times a mandatory requirement. Sometimes it's just just a contractual requirement. Okay, moving on to the next question by Arvind Vallabh Shah. How does RPA take care of security aspect? Yes, good question. So RPA, they have the highest level of security in terms of the data privacy security as well. They have absolute very excellent standards when it comes to data privacy and data security. So you don't have to worry about that. Every RPA service provider, whether it's UiPath or Automation Anywhere or ServiceNow, they have all the security compliances in place before any organization. So that's something which you don't have to worry about. Okay. Okay. Nice flowchart. Okay. Shilpa, Dheeraj, I'm working as an Oracle ERP consultant. Okay, finance budget in a UN organization in Abu Dhabi. We have many areas where we can use automation. Can you please suggest me an in-depth course or degree which can help me do the automation in my company? So, Shilpa, good question, and I'm glad that you are excited about implementing automation. But any course will not help you to identify automation. There's your own product knowledge of the process or the product or the workflow that will help you to identify the automation. Now, once you've identified the automation, then you've already completed the business consulting part of it. Once you've identified the automation, all you need to do is identify a technology partner who would help you to build that automation. All right, and that's how you start. So categorize your ideas, what all ideas you've got. All right, categorize them into who gives you the better ROI in the least complex way. There might be some things that you can implement automation in as short as probably a couple of weeks, or maybe a week's time. So identify those areas, and then prioritize what you need to automate first, and that's how you start your journey. Get in touch with automation service provider who provides you with the automation software, and then start implementing these automation. But please do a thorough ROI assessment before you start or selecting or prioritizing your automation deployment scenarios. Do not proceed without any ROI calculations. Okay.
Just to add in here, Dheeraj, sorry, I was unable to unmute earlier. But there we can also recommend few of the non-technology courses, like on Coursera. If you go, they are the general courses which are not attached to a technology. So maybe we can request people to also take RPA Foundation course on such open training sites like Coursera. Actually understand the method and then evolve to the technology later.
Yeah, thanks Neha. Fair enough. Very good on this. So with that, we come to the end of all the questions. Anything else that you need before we close this call? I hope you were able to gather some good knowledge of RPA on this webinar, and I hope you can take this journey ahead. Any further questions for Neha and myself before we disconnect from this call?
No, sir. Thank you for answering and enlightening us on this topic. Now, I would like to present a vote of thanks. Firstly, to the audience for attending and participating in this session. Secondly, to all the dignitaries chairing various committees in the Institute. Our enthusiastic speakers for taking out time and making this session a success. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Shubham and Amit sir for all the technical support. So thank you, Dheeraj sir, and thank you, Neha ma'am. It was a wonderful session with you. Good night.
Thank you.